Every time I see you, you make my heart say,
Hello, welcome back to my channel. We'll be reviewing Tyler Perry's House of Payne, episode 9 and 10. So let's get right into it. So the show opens up. I'm going to fuse the two together. I'm just going to talk about both of the episodes as if it's one whole episode because it actually could have probably just been one episode. So we start off with Miranda coming over unannounced as usual to Aunt Ella's house. And, Aunt Ella's happy to see her, asking her how she's doing and everything. But it was interesting because the first thing that she asked Miranda was, "Are you dropping the baby off?" And she said, "Are you dropping the baby off?" And my thought was, why would Miranda be standing in the house without the baby if she was dropping him off? Like, she would just leave him out sitting in the car thinking that maybe Aunt Ella might say no. And, that was kind of strange that she said that. So, anyway, they start this small talking. Basically, Miranda's letting her know the reason why she came over was because she's having this party at work, this office party, and she needs this meal cooked. And she was expecting Aunt Ella to cook the meal, which again is telling of her privileged, spoiled lifestyle. She just expects people to jump when she wants them to. And let me just say, I don't dislike Miranda, but I just see a lot of her, the way that this is playing out. You see a lot of who she is coming out in these episodes. I mean, I've been saying it all along, and I feel like she's just one of those people who expects, from what she comes from, as I stated in my previous video, her past and the way she grew up, she's very entitled. And it came out in this. You expect Aunt Ella to cook your meal for you. First of all, you haven't even been around. You and Calvin have been separated for a long time, and then you just show up unannounced and expect Aunt Ella to cook a whole meal for you for an office party at your job? Really? Really, Miranda? So, Aunt Ella also asks Miranda, when did she last see Calvin? And she says she hasn't seen Calvin. Now, I know I'm not crazy. Did we all just see Calvin and Miranda in the last episode kissing at the very end of the show? I mean, I saw it. I mean, did you see it? Are we all crazy? Is something going on that we don't know about? We just saw Miranda with Calvin. So I'm not sure, like, if that was an error on Tyler Perry's part, but Miranda claims she hasn't seen him. And I'm like, really? Really, Miranda? Okay. I don't know if she's lying and just doesn't want Aunt Ella to know, or if that was really an error. I am leaning more towards it being an error on Tyler Perry's part. And yeah, we're going to go with that. So, so Miranda, she basically tells Aunt Ella that she really wants to see if she made a mistake with Calvin. So then we go to the next scene where Calvin goes to CJ's and he's talking to him about Miranda. And CJ basically is trying to convince Calvin to talk to Miranda. Calvin's like, "Look, it's over. I'm moving on." And so he basically is saying how much he really likes his new girlfriend Laura and that he really wants things to work out with her. And Malik basically calls Miranda a stalker, which she is. And I mean, in this case, Malik said it like it exactly is. She is a stalker. So Calvin goes back to his parents' house and he basically lets them know that he wants to introduce his girlfriend to them, which is really, really sweet. And he was talking about how much he liked her and he was, really felt like this was the one, saying that she might be the next Mrs. Payne. I don't know if he said it right then and there, but he did mention that. So they're like, okay. So he brings her in and, he introduces her. And of course, Calvin's dad, being Uncle Curtis, always have to say something inappropriate. And of course, he was like, I don't want to meet her. If she's not, she's like, that's strange. Like, she's a goody two shoes. He doesn't want to meet her. But if she's stripping or if she's like dancing on a pole, he'd rather meet her. I'm like, okay, Uncle Curtis, here we go with that. So she's really sweet and she's glad to meet them. And so Aunt Ella says, let's go in the kitchen and let's talk. So they go in the kitchen and Laura and Aunt Ella have this conversation. And Laura reveals to her that, there's something she wants to tell her. She's talking about how she basically wears a wig or weave and she wears color contact lenses and she has cellulite. And Aunt Ella's like, okay. And everybody, it's not a big deal. And she's like, I really want him to like me. Do you think he's going to like me? And she's like, yeah, I do. I think he is. Now, I don't know if this is setting us up, and I hope it's not. And I hate that I'm thinking like this, but I do I've watched Tyler enough to see the pattern. I hope it's not setting us up for a reunion between Miranda and Calvin, because for her to already disclose that she's insecure tells me that might be a breaking point, a deal breaker for Calvin. That he may see these things come out in her later. I'm hoping that it's not. And if he sees these things come out in her as far as being insecure, it might cause them to break up. Therefore, him getting back with Miranda. And I don't want to repeat CJ and Janine again. I mean, everybody doesn't have a happy ending. Things don't always turn out like that. I mean, they can still co-parent together. They can co-parent Christian and still not get back together. I mean, I personally, gosh, I hope this is not what's coming down the pike. I mean, let them stay, let them get divorced, and let them raise their son together. I mean, there are people out here in real life that co-parent together, and they do it very well, and they manage to create an environment for the children where it's wonderful. And I think it would be great to show that is not always that couples have to reunite. And so I hope that's not the way it's going, but it seems like that. So after they have the talk, then, oh my God, here comes Miranda through the back door singing. And so then it ends. And then we go into Laura and Miranda realizing that they know one another and they actually work together. But the problem is they're trying to figure out, what are they doing? What is each of them doing in Calvin's house? So we find out that Laura's like, okay. This is another thing that was strange too. She asked Miranda, was Aunt Ella her mother? And Aunt Ella seemed like she was kind of offended at the fact that she asked the question. And she was like, no. She was like, more like a sister I would like to be thought of. She's like closer in age. And I'm thinking, Aunt Ella, Miranda is married to your son. So why would you think it's weird that Laura would think that you're Miranda's mother? It was just strange. Again, this is what I think too. I think now, since this show is on BET, I think that they have more creative liberties. I think the actors and actresses have more liberty to kind of improvise with the things that they say. And I think it's like sometimes they aren't thinking and they say things that don't make sense. So that's what I personally think. You might think differently. So anyway, once they find out that they have Calvin in common. So Laura and Miranda realize that they both have this man in common, and that they've been talking about Calvin and they never mentioned his name. They just have been talking at work about this guy. And so Miranda reveals that he's her husband. And Laura is, of course, surprised. Now, this is the thing. Again, y'all, I know I keep getting on Miranda, but I can't help it. She just be doing too much. She's always doing too much. So here she is. And I was like, why is she bullying Aunt Ella? Like, Aunt Ella, yeah, what's going on? I'm like, Aunt Ella don't have to answer to you. She is not, like, you're not her boss. You're not the boss of her. Don't be talking to her like that. Like, I felt like Miranda was out of pocket the way she was talking on Ella, like, expected. Like, who's he? Is Calvin here? Who is he? I was like, Miranda, you ought to be glad she let you in the house. She didn't even want to talk to you at first. So anyway, I was just really like annoyed with her again, as I am always. So once they figure this out, then of course, Aunt Alice was standing there like crying, like pretend like she was pretending like she was crying, and I'm like, this is not Aunt Ella. Aunt Ella would have gotten Calvin and made them get that thing straight. Why is she standing there crying like that? Like pretending like she's crying, like this is a big mess. She was like, I don't know if it's just that she's getting older and maybe she doesn't want to be involved as much as she used to be. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. But I was really like taken back by that. I was like, why is Aunt Alice standing there like that? And why is she whining like that? Like, what is she doing? So anyway, she goes and gets Calvin. He comes in the kitchen, and basically it comes out that he said that him and Miranda don't talk because Laura was like, you never told me that you were married. And he was like, well, why would I? We don't talk. And then she was like, you don't talk? And Miranda was like, no, he doesn't. And I'm thinking, now you want to act like a victim. Miranda was standing there like all of a sudden she had all that bark before, bullying on Ella, saying all that kind of stuff. Then as soon as Calvin came in the kitchen, she want to act like a victim. Like, oh my God, oh woe is me, oh don't yell at me, oh poor me. See, this is what I'm talking about. She be doing too much. I can't with her. So unfortunately, Laura was upset and she decided to leave, and she basically is upset with Calvin, basically ended the relationship right there. And Calvin sounds like he really likes her, and he sounds like he's really really upset that she ended the relationship. So he tells Miranda to get out. He was upset with Miranda. I mean, I understand. I don't know. People were saying he was being mean or he was being too rude to Miranda, and I understand. I get it. Like, I know, I'm not saying that Calvin is perfect, and I'm not saying that he hasn't made mistakes, and that there are things that he can look at within himself and see why the marriage ended. I'm not at all saying that it's all Miranda's fault, but what I'm saying is Miranda was bold. You gonna step in his mom's house unannounced, and you don't expect to. You got to deal with the consequences. I mean, you put it out there like that. So once he told her to leave or whatever, they were like, Aunt Ellen and Kurt, no, you can't make her leave. So he left and went back over to CJ's, and basically he was talking to CJ, and he was basically saying, it's over, and so CJ was trying to convince him, you need to talk to her. You need to talk to Miranda because, it's, on Ella, she's concerned about her grandkids. She loves her grandkids and she wants everybody to be happy, blah, blah, blah. So basically that's pretty much how it ends. And I don't know, like I said, the episodes could have been one episode. Overall, again, because I'm a fan of the show, I still love it. I still love the characters. But I do see that they have a lot of creative liberty, as I stated, and they're able to say things that they probably were not allowed to say on TBS. And so it's kind of taking everybody back. But I still enjoy it. I still like them. I still, I love the show. I'm going to keep watching it. Just let me know what you think. What do you think about Calvin and Miranda? Do you think Miranda was out of line? I like Laura. I like the character. I like the actress that plays her. Her name is Quinn Walters, and she was in The Haves and Haves Not. She played this character named Gia, and she also was in Medea's Family Funeral movie, which she was really good in. So anyway, I was excited that she's a new character on the show. What do you think? Do you want Calvin to move on? Do you think he should? Do you think he should get back with Miranda? Let me know. I'm excited to see what happens next. So thank you again for watching my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.